Hi folks, welcome back to Meaningful Money. Okay, we're here at glorious Sennen Cove. I'm sure you can see that in the background. Fantastic evening at the end of what's actually been a horrible day. It's been lashing it down most of the day, but the sun's come out, so good news for the holiday makers and good news for filming as well. Sennen village, actually not in the cove, is where my wife was raised, so this is our part of the world. Not mine, I'm from about 400 miles north of here, but never mind. I'm an adopted Cornishman. Well, I think I will be when I've been here another 20 years. But anyway, we're going to talk about active versus passive investing now. We've been talking about the basic building blocks of investing. Now we're going to talk about, starting next time, some of the wrappers, the things you put that money in. Things like pensions and ISAs and stuff like that. Now, I keep looking because there's people over there. I'm just making sure I'm not holding them up, because right behind the camera is a lookout where I'm sure visitors want to go, and I'm probably holding them up. But never mind, this is more important. Active versus passive investing. If I wanted to invest in a fund, that fund would be run by a person, usually. A fund manager, usually with a team of analysts behind them, deciding and getting information on which shares or bonds or whatever to buy and sell. But ultimately there's somebody, him or her, in charge, making the decisions on a day-to-day basis as to what to buy and sell. And we call that an actively managed fund or active investment, because there's a real human involved. Somebody making the decision, and somebody whose job is dependent, them having a job is dependent on them making good decisions and making money for their investors. Now the alternative to that is called passive investing, and that's where there's no people involved at all. It's all run by a computer. So let me give you an example. Let's say I wanted to invest in FTSE 100 shares. FTSE 100 is an index of the 100 biggest companies in the UK, and the index just tracks the value of those companies. So I could take out an actively managed investment, a fund which buys FTSE 100 shares, and the manager would decide which of those shares to buy and sell on any given day. Or I could invest in a passive fund, and what that passive fund would do would be to buy all of the shares in the index in the right weights. The idea being is that whatever the index does, the fund would do too, because it's got the same things in it, and it would track it up or down. So active fund has a manager making decisions. A passive fund does not. It's just run by a computer. Now, of course, an active fund manager usually has a 7-figure salary, probably including bonus, and so, whereas a computer does not, it just does what it's told. And so active funds are more expensive than passive funds. That's an important differentiation. But also there's been quite a few studies, many studies on this. Which is better, active versus passive? Which ones perform better over time? It's not conclusive, it's important that you know that. But some studies reckon that passive investments outperform active ones 75% of the time. Or to put it another way, only 1 in 4 active managers outperforms his index. Only 1 in 4 active managers makes enough good decisions to do better than the sort of flat neutral position, if you imagine. So, I mean, that's only one set of studies. There are others which are not quite as conclusive as that. The difference that an active manager makes, we call that alpha, the Greek letter, and it's this sort of relative outperformance of the manager against his index. That's very simplistic, but that serves our purposes for now. All the other advisors watching this are going, there's a lot more to it than that, but that'll serve our purposes for now. So, if you opt for an active management, you're taking a bit of a bet that that manager is making the right decisions today and will continue to do so. And that's probably another important distinction between the two. If you've decided what you're going to invest in, if you opt for a passive approach, you can pretty much fire and forget, just invest it and leave it, because if you reckon that FTSE 100 shares are going to do okay, then the fund will do okay, because all it's doing is tracking. But if you have an active approach, you've got to continue to monitor that manager, because while he or she may be making fantastic decisions today, it may be that in a different economic environment, he or she may not be able to make such good decisions, and his or her performance, relative performance, can be worse than the passive investment. So you've got to sort of keep an active fund manager under review, really, and that just takes a bit more work. And it's sort of an extra layer of risk, because you're taking the risk that your chosen fund manager will continue to do the job. So active fund management, active management has humans involved making decisions, and they can either be making a positive impact on your performance or a negative one if they're making bad decisions. Passive investments, there's no people involved at all. It just buys whatever index it is you want to invest in. And you can have passive tracking investments in just about anything on the planet. We'll talk about more of that in due course, but I wanted to put this in as a sort of relatively early doors principle, active versus passive. My opinion is both have merit. I do not come down, as many advisors do, that passive investment is it, and that's where it's at. I think there's place for both, and if you hold the two in tension, then that's probably the best approach. But it depends on your particular attitude to risk and whether you're prepared to take the risk that you pick the right fund manager. Anyway, that's passive versus active. Where we're going now, we're going to talk about some of these wrappers, the things that you put money in, pensions, ISAs, bonds, that's investment bonds, and things like that. And put in some more basics, really. The site's been live now for about 3 or 4 weeks. We're getting a lot of interest. I'm aware that I've got to get a lot more content on yet, so I'm going to put some more basics in and look at the different wrappers, the things you can invest in, pensions, ISAs, bonds, all that sort of thing. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time, and goodbye from Sen & Cove.